Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuffs and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we have many stuffs and things to talk about, such as another reading from the amazing literary masterpiece that is The Eye of Argon. We're also going to get to some of your responses from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. Seem to elicit quite a few different opinions and viewpoints. We'll talk about the response to the guitar pedalboard video that I did. We will also talk about the review that I'm going to be posting this Wednesday on the Stuff and Things channel. Some of the upcoming videos on Stuff and Things plays. I guess SPC Galloping Gertie is that blend. We talked about it initially in the first impressions video, I guess a week and a half ago, but then that review is finally going to post. And then you guys sent in quite a few very good questions. We will get to those in hashtag askstuffandthings. But first thing is first. I know you're all thirsty for it, and I'm thirsty for it as well. I haven't read ahead in this, by the way. It is time for our reading from The Eye of Argon by Jim Theis, Chapter 3. Consciousness returned to Grigner in stigmatic pools, as his mind gradually cleared of the cobwebs cluttering its inner recesses, yet the Stygian cloud of charcoal ebony remained. An incompatible shield of blackness enhanced by the bleak absence of sound. Grigner's muddled brain reeled from the shock of the blow he had received to the base of his skull. The events leading to his predicament were slow to filter back to him. He dickered with the notion that he was dead and had descended or sunk, however it may be, to the shadowed land beyond the aperture of the grave, but rejected this hypothesis when his memory sifted back within his grips. This was not the land of the dead. It was something infinitely more precarious than anything the grave could offer. Death promised an infinity of peace, not the finite misery of an inactive life of confined torture, forever concealed from the life-bearing shafts of the beloved rising sun. The orb that had been before taken for granted, yet now cherished above all else. To be forever refused further glimpses of the snow-capped summits of the land of his birth. Never again to witness the thrill of plundering unexplored lands beyond the crest of a bleeding horizon. And perhaps worst of all, the denial to ever again encompass the lustful excitement of caressing the naked curves of the body of a trim, young wench. Young, I'm assuming. This was indeed one of the buried chasms of hell, concealed within the inner depths of the palace's despised interior. A fearful ebony chamber devised to drive to the brinks of insanity the minds of the unfortunately condemned, through the inapt solitude, of a limbo of listless, dreary silence. Chapter 3.5. A tightly wrung my God, this is going to be hard. A tightly wrung elliptical circle of torches cast their wavering shafts, prancing morbidly over the smooth surface of a rectangular, rigid altar. Expertly chiseled forms of grotesque gargoyles grace the oblique rim, protubrating the length of the grim orifice of death, staring forever ahead into nothingness in complete ignorance of the bloody rites enacted in their presence. Brown flaking stains decorated the golden surface of the ridge surrounding the altar, which banked to a small slit at the lower right-hand corner of the altar. The slit stood above a crudely pounded pail, which had several silver mesh chalices hanging at its sides, dangling at the rim of golden mallet, the handle of which was engraved with images of twisted faces and groved at its far end with slots designed for a snug hand grip. The head of the mallet was slightly larger than a clenched fist and shaped into a smooth oval mass. All right, I think we can finish chapter 3 here. It's a mouthful. Encircling the marble altar was a congregation of leering shaman. Shaman spelled incorrectly. Eerie chants of a bygone age, originating unknown eons before the memory of man, were being uttered from the buried recesses of the acolyte's deep lings. Orange paint was smeared in a generous in generous globules over the tops of the priests' wrinkled shaven scalps, while golden rings projected from the lobes of their pink ears. Ornate robes of lustrous purple satin enclosed their bulging torsos. Did he spell? No, I guess he spelled bulging right, and I'm just... okay, anyway. Bulging torsos, attached around their waists with silvered silk lashes, latched with ebony buckles in the shape of morose, misshaped skulls. Dangling around their necks were oval-fashioned medallions held by thin gold chains, featuring in their centers blood-red rubies which resembled crimson fetish eyeballs. Cushioning their bare feet were plush red felt slippers with pointed golden spikes projecting from their tips. Situated in front of the altar and directly adjacent to the copper pail was a massive jade idol, a misshaped, hideous bust of the shaman's pagan deity. The shimmering green idol was placed in a sitting posture in an ornately carved golden throne. What did I say? On an ornately carved golden throne, raised above a round Devory plated dais. Its bulging arms and webbed hands wrestling on the padded arms of the seat. Its head was entwined in a golden snake-like coil. I'm sorry, I keep adding words. Entwined in golden snake-like coils hanging over its oblong ears, which tapered off to thin hollow points. Its nose was a bulging triangular mass sunken in at its sides with low gasping nostrils. Dramatic beneath the nostrils was a twisted, shaggy-lipped mouth, giving the impression of a slavering, sadistic grimace. At the foot of the heathen deity, a slender, pale-faced female, naked, but for a golden jeweled harness enshrouding her huge, outcropping breasts, supporting long silver laces which extended to her thigh, stood before the pearl-white field with noticeable shivers traveling up and down the length of her exquisitely molded body. Her delicate lips trembled beneath soft, narrow hands as she attempted to conceal herself from the piercing stare of the ambivalent idol. Glaring directly down towards her was the stony, cycloptic face of the bloated deity. Gaping from its single oblong socket was scintillating, many-faceted scarlet emerald, a brilliant gem seeming to possess a life all of its own, a priceless gleaming stone capable of domineering the wealth of conquering empires. The Eye of Argon. Burr, 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 burr. Wow. So that was a lot of text in which pretty much nothing happened. But there is a beautifully molded body of a naked wench staring up at the Eye of Argon. We will have more of that next week. I forgot my pen. I'll just have to remember that we finished chapter 3 and we are into chapter 4. Ah, my God. All right, so last week I thought it would be amusing to wear a mask during the Sunday Stuff and Things and not say anything about the mask during the Sunday Stuff and Things. Mostly just because I just thought it looked dumb, and I thought I looked stupid, and I thought it was funny. And I guess inspired by the fact that I've been seeing people driving around alone in their vehicles with masks on, and I just find that ridiculous. There isn't an illness floating through the air that's ready to just pounce on you at any given moment if you don't wear a mask all the time. The mask wouldn't really protect you from that anyway, but that's nothing to even worry about at the moment. I wasn't making any sort of political statement, but it was just funny to me to see, and I guess very enlightening to see how people responded to that video. You could tell that basically, I mean, most people just saw it as me just being a doofus, which is what I was doing. I was just being a doofus. But for the people who decided to read into it, it was very telling about their political ideology, and the fact that this mask thing has become politicized is kind of weird. But there were some people who got angry, thinking that I was kowtowing to pressure because Washington had just passed the mandatory mask rule when you're in enclosed public spaces, or when you can't be or if you can't be further than 6 feet away from another person. So they thought that I was wearing the mask either to show that I was adhering to that edict, or to show people that they should be, and they were angry about it. There were some people who thought I was making fun of it and were angry that I was making fun of it. And then there were some people who thought that I was making fun of it but enjoyed the fact that I was making fun of it, and some people who thought that I wasn't making fun of it and were glad that I wasn't making fun of it, like I was trying to influence people to wear masks or something. I wasn't doing anything. I was just wearing a mask because I thought it was dumb. I thought I looked dumb. And the whole like politicization, I don't know, the Eye of Argon is going to be rubbing off on me now. It's going to be really difficult for me to say a word without me wondering whether or not I'm actually saying a word. The whole politicizing of this issue is very strange to me. I'm not going to tell you whether or not I think you should be wearing a mask. I'm not going to say. I have opinions on it. I've read extensively on the issue, very extensively on the issue. I have my own personal opinion, but I wasn't trying to say anything to anyone, really. I was like poking a little fun at the people who wear masks when they're alone without anyone else near them. I think that's kind of weird, and that's what I was doing in the video. But as far as anything else, I wasn't saying anything about it. So just bear that in mind. I try not to be political on this show. Occasionally things will leak out. That's impossible. It's impossible for that not to happen because, you know, to a certain extent we're informed by our beliefs, and those things are sort of integral to us. But as far as making some sort of broad statement about wearing masks, I wasn't doing that. It was just kind of interesting to see the way people interpreted me wearing a mask on an episode of Sunday Stuff and Things and not saying anything about it. Quite interesting. Last week, we also posted a video where I was showing you my new pedal board. For those of you who are not into guitars, or even if you're into guitars, but you're not into like the nerdy gear section or part of being into guitars, a pedal board is a collection of effects pedals that you might use when playing your electric guitar. And it was a fun video to make. That's the kind of thing I really enjoy just sort of getting into. I anticipate projects almost more than I enjoy, or I enjoy the anticipation of a project almost more than I enjoy the completion of it. But I do love just getting in there and like, okay, what pedal should go in which order, and how am I going to wire all these together, and how am I going to power them, and just putting the whole package together. There is part of me that does like organizing things and laying things out. I'm not super, uptight about that in my general daily life, I don't think. But it is fun where that aspect of my personality can get channeled into a project like that, even completely separate from the way it sounds and its utility as a way of like making your guitar sound better or playing your guitar, anything like that. It's just the physical act of making the pedal board was fun for me. So if you are someone who isn't even really interested in guitar, you may still enjoy it on that level. If you are interested in guitar, there's some cool pedals on there. I do a little bit just kind of showing each of the pedals a bit about the sound that each pedal brings to the table on the pedal board. So if you haven't checked that out yet, it is just called New Pedal Board Build, I think, and it posted last Wednesday, so check that out as well. Also, on Stuff and Things Plays, the Bloodborne series is continuing. I actually have a question about that on hashtag #AskStuffandThings that we'll get to soon. Suffice to say, it seems as though right now that things are going quite easily in that game, but that will not continue for very long. I'm a couple weeks ahead on episodes, and the very easy time that Kevin seemed to be having, Kevin the Kurt, or Kevin Lesec as he is known in Bloodborne, the avatar character that we're using, even though it seemed as though he might be having an easy time, that does not continue for very long. So continue watching the Bloodborne episodes, and then we may be posting a little update for Animal Crossing New Horizons. My fiance and I are still playing that, and I just thought I'd do a quick little update video. I haven't recorded it yet, but I think I will. There was just a summer update released for the game that I downloaded recently that has swimming and diving and all these sea creatures and all sorts of stuff. And I've done a lot with the island, or our island, where my fiance and I live within this game, our weird fake life, when you still can't really go out and do much because you're not allowed to. You could do it on Animal Crossing and talk to your little animal friends and give them presents and hope that they become your best friend, and then Next, I am enjoying a little bit. Let's see if I can get this tamped down here. Do I even have a lighter? Yes. Yes. I have got my 1964 Dunhill Root Briar Saddle Bit Billiard, a beautiful pipe, and a pipe that just smokes so amazingly well. I love this pipe so much. I've got a little bit of Dunhill Standard mixture in here right now. I do not have Seattle Pipe Club Galloping Gertie in this pipe. I recorded that review. That review will be posting this Wednesday on Stuff and Things. The initial impressions video was not super enthusiastic about the blend. My opinion has altered a bit. It is modified. There's some nuance that you can find there if you watch the review on Wednesday. But I know a lot of you enjoy watching reviews where the blend is a very enthusiastic recommendation. You're not going to find that with this blend, but I still think it's worth watching this. I know a lot of people are curious about these Seattle Pipe Club blends and how they may have changed in quality since Sutliff has taken over. It's interesting. You should watch the review. It's going to be posting on Stuff and Things on Wednesday at noon. All right, we have lots of hashtag Ask Stuff and Things questions, so I thought I would get to them now. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag AskStuffandThings, and I will do my best to answer your question, just like Zach did via Twitter. Zach says, is there anything on the Nintendo front, aside from Animal Crossing, that you've been playing, want to play? Or books even? Have you picked up anything interesting lately? Recently, I've been diving into Shelby Foote's The Civil War, and it's just been fantastic. So that was question number one from Zach. I'm going to answer that first, because whenever I do a two-question comment from someone, I always end up answering one question and forgetting the other, because I'm a fool. So let me answer this one first. Anything else on the Nintendo front aside from Animal Crossing that I've been playing or want to play? I haven't really been playing anything other than Animal Crossing, just briefly every day with my fiance. And then I'm playing Bloodborne for the channel, for Stuff and Things Plays. As far as like other Nintendo games that I'm looking forward to, nothing that has a firm release date. I would love to play Breath of the Wild Part 2, but we don't know when that's coming out. Metroid Prime 4, don't know when that's coming out. But nothing that I can think of, nothing major from Nintendo. Other video games, I want to play Cyberpunk 2077 when that comes out, but that's not until November, I think. And then books, I picked up some manga a while ago, and I haven't read any manga for quite some time, but I got Uzumaki by Ino. I'm gonna forget the author's name right now, but just look up Uzumaki. It's a really interesting kind of graphic novel, horror based, kind of has a Lovecraftian-ish sort of bent to it. Quite interesting. The art's really good. And then I kept getting, all these people kept recommending that I read Berserk, the manga, so I got the first 2 volumes of that. But I know that a lot of people are not into graphic novels or manga, so I also picked up a book. Now don't freak out, this is all part of me wanting to understand a variety of viewpoints and not being so aggressively angry about talking about politics. So within that kind of spirit, I picked up a book called Apocalypse Never by Michael Schellenberger. Hold on. Yeah, by Michael Schellenberger. And it just seems, I haven't read much of it yet, but it just seems like a very fact-based assertion that environmental extremism is perhaps counterproductive to solving the issues that we might want to solve as far as the environment goes. And this is someone who was like Time's hero of the environment. He's a staunch environmentalist, but he has been a little bit worried about the alarmism that's going on in the media and in popular culture. And he wants people to focus more on the issues that really matter, as far as like people thinking saying that in 12 years we're all going to be dead because of climate change. So everyone just be calm, be relaxed. It's good to get information. It's good to read things and get facts about things and then interpret those things to the best of your ability. And that's what I'm doing. And then he says, for the next part of the question, wildly impressed with your Bloodborne progression. First time bosses is a pretty rare experience in these games on a first playthrough. I did the first 3 bosses, first try on all 3 of those bosses in Bloodborne. I'm actually a little sad we haven't gotten to see hashtag Salty Bradley, the likes of Dark Souls 3. Keep it up and fear the pale blood. Don't worry, Zach, because very soon you will see me having some trouble in the Dark Souls, or not the Dark Souls, in the Bloodborne series. Things do not continue going as smoothly as they had been, rest assured. Next, from Michael Jones at MikeJ2735. Hey Bradley, got a few questions for you. How's your handwriting improving? He's got 2 questions for me. What are your favorite stroke songs? Hashtag askstuffandthings. My handwriting is just kind of where it is. I still write when I write in cursive. I write in the cursive that I sort of taught myself in the last few years. And I'm still not like amazing. I can't write super, super fast with that handwriting. I still have to think about it a little bit. It's not just second nature, but it's good. It's better all the time. And then favorite stroke song or songs. I still think Is This It, their first album, is probably my favorite album. And off that album, I think Someday is probably my favorite song off that album. I think it's just like a perfectly crafted rock pop song. But I really like all their albums, and I think they write great songs and great melodies. Next, from Neville Smith at TCTI. It's been 100 days since you reviewed the leather iPhone cover. Does it look like the 100 days later picture on the box? I don't know, I couldn't say picture. Did I still say picture? Oh my God, something's happening. Picture. That's how you say that word, right? Oh my God, I'm having a stroke. This is the Nomad leather iPhone cover that I got and did a review of. I don't know that it's quite as weathered looking, is that going to get in the light, as on the back of the box for this case, but I don't use it all the time. When I'm working during the week, I use this spec iPhone cover because it's just a little bit more resilient, and it's also plastic, so like sweat and everything and moisture, things that my phone would get subjected to when I'm doing construction work, it wouldn't affect the case as badly. So typically during the week I use this case, and then on the weekends I'll put the leather case on. So it's not getting the full 100 days of wear yet, but it's already getting a little scarred up and stuff, and it's getting a little bit of a patina on there. I think it looks cool. Next, from Kyle Whitmore. Kyle says, ugh. Now why is Kyle calling me burrado? Because that's what my fiance calls me a lot, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned that that was like my name in Japanese class, because that's how you would pronounce my name if you were spelling it with katakana. It could also be used for blood, burrado. In Japanese, if they're trying to write blood in like a cool way. That's kind of weird. Anyway, burrado. I've been wanting to get my hands on some ketchup type blends of tea, like the ones of yore having been produced by McClelland. Do you know of any blends that are still in production that will scratch this itch? This is a weird question, Kyle, because not every single McClelland Virginia blend had that ketchup-y taste, but the ketchup taste only really existed in McClelland blends as far as I'm aware, and it wasn't a good thing in my opinion. I guess there must have been people who really liked that, but typically for me, if there was a ketchup-y taste to a McClelland blend, then I didn't really like that blend very much. But that's cool. I mean, if that's something you like, I'm sorry that McClelland doesn't exist anymore, and I guess we will have to go to the viewers. If any of you know of a good blend that is a Virginia-based blend that has that McClelland ketchup-y after, or kind of tone, note, topping sort of flavor to it, let Kyle know in the comments below. Oh, and I forgot to mention when I was talking about the response to last week's video, I guess this is a little tangent, we'll just insert in here right now. A lot of people were giving me great advice about places my fiance and I could possibly visit just domestically. People talking about the Gulf Coast of Texas, places in Florida, places on the East Coast and everything. So thank you. There are a lot of cool choices that we've been kind of going through, looking into. Thank you for that. And then also I asked for advice on something else, and I can't remember what that something else was, but I remember reading said advice from viewers and appreciating it very much. So thank you. Next we have a question from Matthew Tremblay at Matthew Trem. Matthew says, have you ever blended your own tea? If so, what combinations, recipes have you liked or disliked? I have very, very briefly dipped my toe into that, and it was more when I was first really getting into non-aromatic blends, probably like 6 years ago or so. I got some, I think it was like some Red Virginia from when we still had a local brick and mortar here. We don't have any anymore in my city, but they had just jars of different blending teas. They had, I think I got some Perique, some St. James Parish Perique. I got some Red Virginias, and I think another varietal of Virginia, maybe like a Bright or a Cure or I don't know, some other varietal of Virginia. And I kind of tried to push it together and do something with it. Put it in a jar, smacked it, like really pushed it down, compacted it in a jar, put it away for a couple months. Did not taste good. I am not a blender. I don't know. I think a lot of people think that you can just get a big bowl and take some components and put them in together and suddenly, hey, there it is, there's a blend. There's a lot more to it than that when people are making a blend. And that's not me saying that you shouldn't have a go at it. You may end up coming up with something you really enjoy, but people aren't just putting a bunch of different varietals in a mixer, hitting start, letting them all get, mixed together and then putting them in a tin and shipping them to you. There's a lot more that goes into it, and I have not successfully done it. I only tried once, but I don't really need to do it, I guess. There are so many amazing blends out there, but if you want to try, by all means do so, and then let me know in the comments. If you guys come up with anything really cool, let us all know. Next, from Chris Coffey at Machin Guy. Do you have any interest in playing The Last of Us or the sequel on Stuff and Things Plays? I really enjoyed watching you play Red Dead Redemption 2, and since I'm a fan of the zombie genre, The Last of Us sounds interesting. I have never played the original The Last of Us. I did see an entire full playthrough of it back in the day when it first came out. It seemed interesting, but it's not the kind of gameplay that I was ever really into, that third-person action game, pseudo stealth kind of thing. It's just not really my thing. The Last of Us Part 2, maybe I would play that eventually, but again, it just isn't really my kind of game. And I guess with a game like that, you're playing it more for the story, but I don't know if that's conducive. I know Red Dead Redemption 2 was a lot about the story, but there was also a lot of just kind of emergent gameplay where you could run around and do things. I don't know. I'll consider it. Eventually. The Bloodborne playthrough is definitely going to take a long time. I might try to intersperse that with other things every once in a while to keep things fresh. But thank you for the question, Chris Coffey. I think that's it for hashtag AskStuffandThings. I asked for questions and you guys delivered, so thank you very much. If you also have questions out there, don't forget to tweet at SAT Bradley with the hashtag AskStuffandThings. It really helps out when I'm planning the show. And then if you are a Patreon supporter, you can write to me on Patreon as well, and I will answer your questions on the Sunday Stuff and Things. Thank you. All right, gang, I think that just about does it for this week's Sunday Stuff and Things, except for the very best part of the show. And that is where I thank you, the Patreon supporters. Those who support the channels at $25 or more a month on Patreon get a special shout out each week. They're not paying for the shout out, I just like to acknowledge the fact that they're so amazing. If you would like to support the channels as well, you can go to the link in the description box below, but don't worry about it if you can't afford it. But every week we shout out our good friends, people who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Ryan McFadin, MD of the North, Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Cody Striegler, Ryan Stauffer, corbynborbyn, and Glenn. We would also like to thank the maniacs, the crazy maniacal weirdos who support the channel at $100 a month. People like Peter Straub. Thank God for you, Peter. You're a great guy. And Bob McGee. Thank you, Bob. We love you, and we couldn't do it without you. But gang, that's it for this week's Sunday Stuff and Things. Don't forget to watch, I don't have a tin of it with me right now, but pretend there's some in this pipe. Don't forget to watch the review of Seattle Pipe Club Galloping Gertie this coming Wednesday at noon Pacific time. And then also every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're having our Bloodborne episodes on Stuff and Things Plays, except I think this coming week we're going to have an update on our Animal Crossing Island on Wednesday. So we'll have Bloodborne on Monday, Animal Crossing Wednesday, Bloodborne Friday, and the next week probably go back to Bloodborne Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check it all out, watch it all. Don't forget to watch the pedalboard build from last week, last Wednesday. I think that was a good video. I liked it. Maybe you will too. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. Look, it's a jumping spider.